morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Kevin Captain, Interim Director of Community Information for the County of Volusia. As our county, in conjunction with the rest of the state, prepare to the initial steps to reopen, we know that many people are asking what's in store for our economy and our business sector. We're excited to have someone with us today who can answer some of these questions. Before I introduce our guest speaker, I'd like to thank our panelists for being here as part of the discussion. With me today at the Volusia County Operations Center are Helga Van Eckert, our Director of Economic Development. Good morning.
Good morning.
Helga, thank you for being with us. And Heather Scherberg, Executive Vice President of Team Volusia. Good morning, Heather.
Good morning.
Thank you so much both for being here. So we're pleased to be joined remotely today by Dr. Jerry Parrish, the Chief Economist and Director of Research for the Florida Chamber Foundation. Dr. Parrish previously was the Chief Economist and Director of the Center for Competitive Florida at Florida Tax Watch. Prior to that, he served as the Associate Director for the Center for Economic Forecasting and Analysis at Florida State University, and additionally has had many years of experience in the private sector in management roles at international manufacturing companies. In his present role with the Chamber Foundation, Dr. Parrish is responsible for conducting in-depth analyses on the Florida economy and on solutions to help secure Florida's future. And solutions are certainly what we need to know now more than ever to get Florida's economy back on track and growing again. So Dr. Parrish is joining us today from Tallahassee. He's in great demand right now for speaking, and we're very fortunate to have him with us today. So Dr. Parrish, with that, we'll turn the panel discussion over to you, sir.
All right, thank you for having me this morning. I appreciate anybody trying to get together and help get Florida back moving. You know, this event that we've faced has been unprecedented. As an economist, it's been both fascinating and terrifying watching the speed because it's just been about 60 days now that we've had COVID-19 cases confirmed in the state of Florida. And so we've been working at the Chamber day and night. We actually started working on a solution and recovery effort back about 5 or 6 weeks ago now here at the Chamber Foundation. We've been working with some, national groups. We've been working with people all around the state, and we've been working nearly 24 hours a day in a lot of cases. But I do have some info. What I'd like to do this morning is show you a couple of slides and talk to you about the data so you understand it, and then I'll open it up for questions. I can't see if they've got my slides up there. I don't know if I'll be able to see from here, but if they'll put up that first slide that I sent, that would be awesome. On that first slide, if you're looking at the one, it's basically the title slide there. It shows the email address or the web address where people can sign up for daily emails. And the Chamber every single day comes out with things like a map. I'll show you here in a minute. But it shows the number of cases per day. It shows tons for businesses to be able to use, and you can sign up. It's free. It's something anybody can get at any time. And this daily email will give you info about where you go to get info to apply for business loans and all kind of things. So I encourage you to sign up for that. And we really reliable supplier of info all during this situation. Now I want to talk about the data a little bit. If you'll put up my second slide, I believe that's it's a map of the state of Florida. Is that what you guys are looking at? Can you tell me that? it says COVID-19 cases.
Yeah, yes, sir. We see it.
Okay, you're able to see that. I want to talk to you about that map. That's got a lot of info on there. It's got things like the number of cases. It shows every single county in the state. I want to remind people that these are the cumulative number of cases over the past couple of months. You got to understand about this. There's nobody following people around who get better from this and go back to work, or maybe even get out of the hospital and go home and take them off the list once they're no longer have this virus. So think about this as the cumulative amount. So that number, it will show you the number of cases, the number of deaths. It'll also show you the percent positive tests, and that's over a 60-day period. So right now, I think we're down to latest number I saw was 8.8% this morning. So only 8.8% of the people that are tested are actually have the virus. But that's one of the pieces of info that we have. Now I want to talk about how Volusia is set up to handle this. If you'll show that next slide, it should be a blue slide that has some writing on it. Are you able to see that now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a quote from Nancy Kiefer, who actually, I hope all the chair of the Daytona chamber down there, the executive director or the president and CEO. She's been our workhorse for a lot of things at the Florida Chamber, and you can see that we ask her for quotes when we're doing things, talking about the governor reopening Florida, what you see. But I want you to see that quote from Mark Wilson, our CEO, as well. It says, if every community had a leader as visionary, as inclusive as Nancy Kiefer, Florida would be better off. And I can second that. She's a national figure that you have right there in Volusia County. I know she's been chair of the whole National Association of Chambers of Commerce. She's been on our board as well as representing all the chambers. So you really have a great leader there when it comes to helping business understand what they should be doing, how they can prepare, how they can get ready to open. Because as you know, the governor signed the executive order come Monday that, businesses will start to open again. And, they've really been a leader for us. You've also really made a good hire recently. Helga Van Eckert is well known in the economic development world. She and I have worked together on a lot of things over the past few years. And so I really believe Volusia County's got some great leadership down there. And, I'm looking for helping you if I can. But you've got as talented a people as there are in the state of Florida down there, helping you with what we can help with at the Florida Chamber. So that's really all the opening comments I wanted to make. I'm sure you guys have questions, from me as an economist, from me as someone who's been watching this thing very closely and been close up here in Tallahassee. So I'll be glad to open up the floor now, and let's see what's on your mind. I'll try my best to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parrish. One of the questions that we can start with is, speaking of Volusia County and COVID-19, is the virus slowing here, and how is that affecting us? I mean, broad question, economically.
Okay. Well, if you'll, I've got a couple slides pre-made just for the questions that come up. If you'll go to what I believe is the next slide, it'll say something like leisure and hospitality jobs as a percent of private sector jobs. Can you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's start from back before when we had no data at all, and we still don't have a lot of data because, we get a lag within our data. When we had no data at all, I told people to really look at the percentage of their private sector jobs that are leisure and hospitality jobs. Compare that to the Florida average and compare that to the national average. And I believe Volusia's on there at about 18% or so, if I'm not mistaken. Compared to Florida at 16%, and the U.S. is 13.3. What I told everybody was, this is going to be a proxy of how bad relative to other counties that your county is going to get hurt. And, we put this out. We have a local chamber call every Tuesday morning. And so on the very first one, I showed people this. So, I think certainly your exposure is higher than a lot of counties in here because, you are so dependent on leisure and hospitality. There's some good manufacturing going on in Volusia County. There's a lot of other good stuff as well. Certainly, the more diversified your economy is. And in this case, because this disease specifically hits leisure and hospitality jobs the hardest of any of them, then, you are going to get hurt a little harder than Florida. You got to keep in mind that there's a lot of ranges out there on how deep the hurts are going to be to the economy. We do have some info on the number of initial claims that have come out, but it's about 3. So we've had a lot of initial unemployment claims in the state. It's actually going to be when we see the job numbers come out on May the 15th. We'll actually get, and those will be for April. What you may not know is when we count jobs in Florida and other states, we always count them on the week that the 12th of the month falls in. So the numbers we have now, for March that came out in April, only show just a very few job losses, because it's, taken during the middle of the month when this thing first started back in March. On May the 15th, we'll see a look at the middle of April, which you'll really start to see job losses. Keep in mind, not all of these initial claims that you see in the newspaper are going to end up being job losses. There's been some people double and triple, sending them in. They have to verify all those things. But certainly, it's going to be bad for all of us. There's no doubt about it. The national numbers are wide ranging. They say that the GDP, could be hit on an annual basis of about, 2 to anywhere from 8, and I've seen as high as 11%. Most of that's going to fall in the second quarter. We'll see some recovery in the third quarter, according to most forecasts, and pretty strong growth back in the fourth quarter of this year. But it's going to hurt. A lot of people are out of work, and you know that already.
So, Jerry, this is Helga. If I could jump back to the leisure and hospitality slide that you have, the a component of the leisure and hospitality industry is our restaurants and retail, the downtown, the beachfront facilities, and with the phased approach now allowing some of those to be able to open on a partial basis. I mean, do you see a long-term recovery for tourism? Should we see some improvement in that with these things opening now?
That's a great question. You will see some improvement when people go to work. And, the way I read the governor's proclamation was that, 25% of indoor restaurant capacity, and then it seems unlimited outdoor if you properly space. And so I would assume that, cities and counties are going to be asked for, hey, give me a waiver to where I can put some tables in my parking lot to feed people outdoors. I think that's a reasonable thing. So you will see a lot of those people go back to work. And I believe that what we'll do, this, I keep hearing the term 14 days. So the White House came out with their recommendations. Are we going down in numbers over the next 14 days? I have a feeling that the governor's going to look at this, and if 14 days after this phase one, if we haven't seen any big issues, that we'll expand that 25%, even maybe to 50%, maybe more. So we're only a few days away from some people going back to work on Monday, maybe a couple of weeks from additional ones. But certainly, you got to remember, it's not just tourism in that leisure and hospitality. Maybe the other folks, I know Helga knows this, but it's you taking your family out. That's not counted in tourism, you traveling in the state. These are people from other states and other countries that are at the actual tourism numbers. So, just you being tired of sitting at home, wanting to take your family out to eat. I believe there's going to be a pretty big demand out there, and the restaurants are going to be full as the as the regulations will allow them. And I think, if things go well, in a couple of months, we can, hit 75 or maybe even 100% capacity.
Good morning, Jerry. This is Heather Schuberg. Given that we have such a strong tax base in Florida related to leisure and hospitality, what parts of Florida do you think are going to be the most impacted from the recovery of COVID?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been looking at the state level taxes. Where do we get our money from? And you got to think about this. About 77% of Florida's general revenue comes from sales and use taxes. So that's the money the legislature spends on education and healthcare and all those things that, your legislator comes home and says, hey, I got us a program, or I got us a park, or, it's where all that kind of money comes from, is, not just education, not just healthcare. I've been looking at it. We're dependent on people spending money. Where are they spending it now? They're spending it in the grocery store, and that's great. Great for the grocers. They're buying some non-taxable goods, kind of like toilet paper and those kind of things those are taxable. Let me be clear. They're buying some taxable goods like toilet paper, but non-prepared food is not taxable, something that you take and have to prepare at home. And so you're going to lose state and local taxes on that. Almost everything else, spending has gone down. Certainly gasoline has gone down. The big hits have been taken in clothing and furniture and those kind of things. So, and automobiles. You got to understand, automobiles are the top tax, yield in the state of Florida. It's about $4 billion a year at the state level. And I guarantee you it's a big part of your county budget as well. You have to look at what the local option sales taxes are down there and get those numbers. But, we're moving from, the only thing that's growing substantially is two things. One is groceries. Some of that's taxable. General merchandise stores like Targets and Walmarts are doing really well. Most of that stuff is taxable unless they're buying groceries. So let's be blunt here. The state's going to take a hit. Your county's going to take a hit, and people are going to be looking to recover those sales taxes. However, the good news is this: is we're seeing some drugs that are coming through the trials, maybe good treatments for this. And the more comfortable people feel like, okay, I could still get this before there's a vaccine. But once there's a good solid treatment that my doctor can get and I can feel comfortable about getting that again, there's a whole lot of pent up demand to get back out and get things back to normal.
Dr. Parrish, this is Kevin Captain. Do you think Governor DeSantis was correct in his decision to begin reopening Florida?
That's a great question. And that was after his press conference. That's the most common question I got by text, by phone, by email. That's a great question. I really think that he took a super conservative approach. I really like what he did. And yes, I believe he did the right thing. You got to remember about 60% of the cases of COVID-19 happened in 3 counties in this state, and about 60% of the growth over the last couple of weeks. When we want to look at a couple of weeks of growth, came from Broward, Miami, and Dade County. So holding them back from phase 1 opening, I think, was the right thing. Getting Florida open, I think, is the right thing. I mean, it's good for people's psyche. It's good for business. It's good for everything. Honestly, he was probably a little more conservative than I would have been, opening up restaurants at only 25% capacity, plus still continuing the takeouts and those kind of things. You got to understand, I've looked at a lot of different states. All these states, I did something last night for our CEO, looking at some other states like Pennsylvania and Illinois. And when you peg everything to the 100, the day you get your 100th case is kind of a key in the epidemiological world. Florida has experienced much, much less growth than Pennsylvania and Michigan, and especially New York and those kind of states. We actually, we're behind the curve and have managed to flatten the curve substantially better than any big state that I've seen. Maybe some of the small states that are sparsely populated did better than us. I don't know the answer to that, but I believe he did the right thing. I believe it's good for everybody to get back to as normal a situation as we can. And honestly, I might have gone to 33 or 40%, or maybe even 50% on restaurants. But I'm glad to see things opening back up. It gives people hope that, that's, a lot of people, that's what we need, to feel comfortable and get out. And now I think it's a good time because, some more of the tests are available. The masks and the PPE are more available now. So I think I think he's done a really good job here. If I can, I'll show a slide. Matter of fact, I think, let me see. Yeah, let's look at, if you'll click to the next slide, it says Florida's 5-day moving average % positive. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Take a look at that. The overall average over the last couple of months is about 8%, but you can see recently the tests, have gone down to in the 5% range of people testing positive. And the slide after that, if you want to click onto that, that shows your county and every other single county. This is back from April 27th, so it's earlier this week. We're updating this once a week. And so you can see where you guys are compared to some other counties. Now, on that one, I'll warn you a little bit. There's some rural counties that, have some pretty high percentages. It may, I'm not sure how that's happening. It may be because they didn't have a lot of tests, and so they've been really selective about giving out the tests to the sickest people. That could be true. I don't know the answer to that. But while we're looking at slides, why don't I just show you a couple more that talks about the whole path of Florida. If you'll show the next one is a bar chart that says something like daily new COVID-19 cases, and it's a bar chart. That's a bunch of bars straight up and down. Can you guys see that?
Yes, sir.
That's the daily cases that come out, and we track those and we put those out. And then, it's kind of hard to make a pattern out of that. There's a couple of really high days. Those actually happen to be days where there were a ton of tests, like 15,000 tests given that day and reported. The reports from some of the private labs have been coming in lumps. And so we may get a day where it shows we got 6,000 tests, and the next day is 15,000. So if you look at the next charts, that same chart with an orange line, that shows the 14-day moving average, and it shows the peak day. And what you can see is the peak for Florida was April the 13th. So we're well beyond this 14-day decline in cases that the White House has asked for. So I think the governor, I think is right on target here. Cases are declining. More and more tests are available. More masks and other things are available. And while we're on the slides, let me just finish off a couple that I sent. Let me show you Volusia County. The next to the last slide in the deck shows where we are today as far as the number of cases. And then you see the daily case rate down there at the bottom in orange. And you can see, it looks like the peak day was 44 cases. I think that's what that says. Sometimes those are, big data dumps. Sometimes it's where they've gone into a nursing home or some kind of area and given a whole lot of tests, and you saw a big spike that day. But look at that gray line in the very last slide. That's your 14-day moving average for Volusia County. And it's clear that you've hit a peak and you're now going down. Now, because I would want to investigate, those couple of humps down there, the 40 that are in the 40s, where they came from, when the test was actually done, to see where you are on your 14-day moving average. Because, reporting it on a day, instead of the day the test was given, that's happened a lot. But overall in Florida, we're going down. In Volusia County, we're going down in the number of new cases. That's the key number. We're going to have all that info on the Florida scorecard that we maintain our website, thefloridascorecard.org. and you'll be able to track your county. We'll have that up here very shortly.
Jerry, this is Helga. It's great to see that our curve is going down and we're kind of on the other side of it now. But what parts of the economy do you think are going to recover faster as far as industry goes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've looked a lot at that, and I've been reading a lot of that. I've seen some really great stories out there of how people have gotten open and what they're doing to still keep their employees safe. And I'll pull a couple of examples here. First of all, retail. I think Home Depot up here in Tallahassee was one of the first ones I saw this. They limit the number of people going in stores, and you can only go in one way and out one way, and there's somebody there counting literally the number of people. I go into Publix, and they've got one-way aisles now where you can only go down one way. It keeps your contact down. I like those kind of things. But one of the most clever things I saw was a construction company. There's a lot of different kinds of construction. There's stuff, if you've got a crew of 6 people putting in units in somebody's kitchen, they're right up on each other, and it would be hard to social distance when you're trying to install cabinets and put on countertops and do the plumbing and do all that stuff. But things like road construction, and from what I see out there, those guys are out riding on pieces of equipment and doing stuff. Really not much person-to-person contact. So I believe what you're going to see is parts of industries, that are doing these things. Construction, even home construction and commercial construction. One of the companies I talked to had put on a second and third shift so they can spread out their workers during the day, still get everything done, and they actually had to hire people, to do the second and third shift. So they were actually creating jobs there. So I think parts of industries, I think the actual, hotels and leisure and hospitality part are probably going to be last. I don't think you'll see a lot of conventions and those kind of things. Certainly restaurants will be ahead of hotels because of the phased in reopening. But we have to get to a position where people are comfortable, flying in from other states like they always do. We had 130 million plus visitors over the past year come from other states and other countries. That's when you'll see the return back to normal. But, manufacturing, in a lot of cases, they've spread their workers out, changed their processes, laid out their shop floors differently so they can maintain social distancing. Construction, I talked about. Retail, I talked about. And so it's not going to be every industry on a light switch and going back to work first thing Monday morning. It's going to be parts of them, and then in phases getting into, heading back toward 100% of people going back to work.
Great. This is Heather again. You spoke in a webinar last week about other economic impacts that would be coming up in terms of maybe onshoring or supply chain change. Can you speak to what you foresee in the next 12 to 18 months related to those items?
I'm very excited. One of the things I do, I'm on the board of directors of Florida Makes, and they're the manufacturing extension partnership for the state of Florida. And I've got a manufacturing background, so I really am glad to see this. I will guarantee you a couple of things. One is the state of Florida will not end up in the U.S., I don't think, will end up in this position to where we're dependent on a foreign government for masks and for personal protective apparel, drugs, those kind of things. There's going to be a massive effort to reshore our supply chain because of this disruption. And I think it would be a great thing for the state of Florida. We've been pushing for more manufacturing at the Florida Chamber Foundation for a long time. In our trade and logistics report, we showed where basically half the containers, ships, trains, and trucks are leaving Florida empty. They're bringing in goods. They're leaving Florida empty. It leaves us in a position to where we have to pay more for inbound freight because getting backhauls out is more difficult, and there's only a 50% probability in a lot of cases of getting a backhaul out. If we would balance that trade with Florida-made goods manufactured here that can fill up those containers, we get discounts on on inbound freight. We'd be more competitive. Florida consumers would have more money in their pockets, and businesses would have less costs. And I really believe this is our opportunity to reshore a lot of this stuff. Every state in the country is going to be trying to do the same thing. But Florida's got a great manufacturing base already. There's a lot, people don't understand how much manufacturing is going on. I've been to manufacturers in Volusia. I've been into manufacturers all over this state. There's some really innovative stuff going on, and those are good jobs. They pay well. They diversify Florida's economy. And I think the first thing we need to do is put a renewed interest and big effort on recruiting and expanding more manufacturing here in the state of Florida, and not just for protective apparel and drugs, but those are the first two I think that you'll see some action on.
I think we have a question on Facebook. We'll turn it over to Helga.
Yes, actually, this is from Melissa on Facebook. She asks, what assistance is available through Volusia County for small businesses? Are there any local grants that are out there? And, this is a topic of a conversation that we've had for weeks between the county council is so supportive of the small businesses and wants to be sure that we take care of them, and our stakeholders as well. Heather has been on a number of calls with me trying to come up with programs that will assist our local businesses. And just last week, we announced that we will be doing a small business grant that is making its way through processing now. We're putting the parameters in place. We expect that it'll be before the council in final format soon. And it will actually be a grant that assists our businesses. And Jerry, this goes to what you were saying about the changes that are being done to accommodate the new norm, so to speak. Many of our businesses have had to shut down because they weren't considered essential, and as a result have been suffering. And now, in order to open their doors, they need to put special things in place to make sure that their employees are safe and that their patrons are safe, and that comes at another expense. I mean, some of those issues are addressed with common sense, like you said, changing shifts, switching tables, but others are going to require an expenditure. So the concept of this grant that we're looking at is to actually provide the financial resources to make those physical changes. Are you seeing stuff like that throughout the state?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. That's something that a lot of communities are looking at, and I believe that's the thing. Now's the time for communities to get together with their chambers, their county commissions, their economic development agencies, and businesses are not all alike. They need help in a lot of cases to figure out what they can do. If there's help available, there's certainly been a lot of the bridge loans and the small business loans and programs stood up around the state. I think this is the most important thing we can do right now, to help people get back to work, to help them understand what they can do. Because these, there's not any restrictive, 10,000 different things that you have to follow in the governor's order. It's basically a lot of common sense that people that are familiar with business and people that help businesses, like chambers and economic development agencies, can help them one-on-one understand what they need, show them where there's help in case the business needs it. Because, like I said, not every business is the same, and I think the greatest thing that the local chambers and economic developers can do is share the best practices. I've seen some cool stuff, like, when I saw Publix turning aisles into one way. I would have never thought about that in my life. And we've got a lot of stores that can use the same thing. So sharing those best practices through webinars like this, through chamber meetings, through economic development agency meetings, I think that's going to help all these businesses get back to business quicker. And that's exactly what we need right now.
Well, Jerry, I have maybe a tough question for you. Before we entered all of this pandemic, we were experiencing really, really low unemployment levels as a nation and as a state as well. How long do you think it will take us to recover to some of those more, maybe not ever to the point that we were, but to a more normalized level of unemployment?
That is a tough question, but it's a really good question, and it's one that I've been struggling with trying to figure out. When you look at what the economists are saying out there, we could have a -1% to a -11% GDP crunch this year on an annual basis. So it's really hard to predict. Let me put out a couple of key posts that will tell you when this thing will be over. First of all, we got to remember we're subject to this virus, and the shock of it, the suddenness of this. There wasn't even one case 60. We're coming up on the 60th day, I think now, in the state of Florida. So when it comes back to going back to work, a couple things have to happen. One is what I talked about. There has to be a treatment that people feel confident. And we've seen in the news, there may be some out there now. We're going to get a lot of more info about the drug trials. I believe within a couple of months, we're going to have a pretty widely available treatment to where then, people that are reasonably healthy can make that decision. I'll go on that. I'll go to that place. I'll take my risk of getting sick. Understanding that the disease won't go away until we get a vaccine and it's widely available. But I think technology is going to be our friend here. You've probably all seen the 5-minute COVID test. We know there's a very good, reliable 45-minute test, and now the 5-minute tests are coming out, and then we're going to have the antibody test after that. I believe that people, in a lot of cases, because I've talked to a lot of people, would you do this? I asked this very specific question. Would you take your family on a cruise if you could stand in line, take a 5-minute COVID-19 test, and if you pass, you can get on the boat, and you'll know every passenger on that cruise ship has had the same test, and they tested negative. And, most people that are under 70 years old, say, I think I would do that. So I think technology is going to help move it sooner rather than later. I do believe, though, until we have a widely accepted vaccine that's widely available, that we won't be back to where we were. But I do believe that we're going to be back to 80 and 90%, and maybe even more by the end of this calendar year. I believe that, we're going to see people going back to normal, with social distancing and wearing masks and those kind of things. One of the things I think about too, and I'm an economist, so you'll have to forgive me about this. I wonder about how many fewer deaths from the, standard influenza that we're having now because people are washing their hands and they're social distancing and all that stuff. I believe certainly that's a positive thing. I also believe that driving to work is one of the most dangerous things you can do. And if you can stay at home and work like a lot of us can, I believe, there's, I've heard the screams from the body shop people, there are no accidents going on right now because nobody's out on the road. So, we got to take into account the totality of this. And so, I really believe in most industries, we're going to be back to growing by the third quarter this year, some pretty strong growth by the fourth quarter. Not every single job coming back, by then, but I think the majority will be back.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think that we are going to see a lot of the jobs come back. I think what we're going to see different, though, is how those jobs are done and where they're done and the precautions that are taken around it. So while we'll go back to normal, it's kind of more the abnormal that we're going to go back to. But I think it's a good thing. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, there's positivity ahead, so as we recover, that's good to think about the positives. So that's all we have time for today. Once again, we immense thank you to Dr. Jerry Parrish and our panelists today. That was some really good information, and as we move into the recovery phases, by working together, we can pave a path to a positive future. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Take care and stay safe.